All right, guys, we're back. Chris, what week are we at now?
Going into week 7.
Is the season going by fast, or is it just me?
A little bit, but we're over the hump now, heading into crunch time. Conference games, conference season is heating up.
Yeah, heating
October
up.
football. This when
Say
you
again?
find out the contenders from the pretenders.
Contenders from the pretenders. We got a lot to discuss. We got a whole lot of kids in the studio coming up. We got an exciting edition of Coach versus Coach. Going to be fun. We'll get to it right after this. All right, Chris, we saw the Shrine Bowl rosters come out this week. 12, I think 13 Charlotte area kids made it. About a handful of kids from the Raleigh area made it. Some big names aren't on there again. Your thoughts about the Shrine Bowl, where it is and where it's going?
Well, I don't know. That's a tough question. That's a loaded question. It could probably be an entire show's worth of debate back and forth.
It could.
I think some of the guys that got left off are guys from what I've seen that are probably going to be committing in December and leaving early. And you got guys that go to bigger all-star games, the All-American, the Army, the Under Armour, so on, all those. So I don't know. It's definitely been tougher in the past decade, I would say, to get some of these guys into Shrine Bowl versus before. You've got so many other quality all-star games that have popped up. You got the East-West game, you got the Queen City Bowl. I mean, it's not the big fish in a small pond anymore. That Shrine Bowl is competing for eyes from these kids.
I think the Shrine Bowl just is so far away. Like if I'm in Raleigh, I mean, it's like a whole different world away from me. Gary, what are your thoughts about the Shrine Bowl? Am I right?
It's definitely lost its luster because it used to be a standalone game, and it's not that anymore. Like Chris said, you have numerous all-star games, and now here's the big difference for me. You have so many kids that commit early, and they don't need the Shrine Bowl as that last little push to get committed. Because I remember going to Shrine Bowl practices, and it would be loaded with college coaches. And that's not the case anymore. They don't need the Shrine Bowl to get that scholarship like they used to 15, 20 years ago. So I think that hurts. And then also you have these kids that are going to be early enrollment in January. And if they come out of the season healthy, they don't want to risk it in an all-star game if they're reporting to practice in January.
They'll put a ball on it for me. Shrine Bowl, does it mean what it used to mean?
No, unfortunately. Several, I think, a number of factors to that. Probably the biggest thing was the separation of the South Carolina and North Carolina Shriners. That probably hurt us the most. Moving it out of Charlotte, it took a little while, but after it moved, it was kind of okay at first, but it's just lost its not just its luster, its impact within the halls of the schools. When I was in high school, it was a known thing. It was a known thing by students that there was a such thing as a Shrine Bowl. But today, heck, I bet there's a lot of football players that don't even know that there's a Shrine Bowl. So
go ahead, Chris is itching. Go ahead, Chris.
Dale's right, and I hate to say this because I've been a longtime supporter of the Shrine, the Shriners, the Shrine Bowl, and I broadcasted that game for ESPNU for about a decade. And I remember not too long ago telling someone in Charlotte that I was doing TV for the Shrine Bowl, and they said they still play that game. And that's all you really need to say. I mean, with it not being here in Charlotte, kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, and I think kids are looking to other all-star games like you guys talk about, like the Army All-America game, the Under Armour game. Those are the games that they look forward to trying to get into. Dale, you brought up a really good point on the post-game show. And if you guys aren't watching the post or listening to the post-game show, it's on my Twitter on Friday nights at 11 o'clock. Dale and Jim West and Gary come on. Chris comes on. And we get a ton of coaches on. Real fun time. But you made a point that it's so hard to get scores. And I think you questioned, should the state step in to help with that issue? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so for a number of years, I have felt like the reporting of scores has been a problem, and we know that it's been a problem. It's a problem when on Saturday, when they were going through the selection process and they found problems then. That's a problem. And so I have felt for a long time, especially since the NCHSAA is kind of has this marriage with Max Preps, the NCHSAA should take a little bit of their money and have a little app developed, force every AD to report a score within 30 minutes of game final, and that they must report the app, because right now it's who's going to score the game kind of deal. And so your scores up on Max Prep sometimes are not accurate.
Yeah.
Jim and I were watching last year right after Helene, and we were seeing scores of an AC Reynolds game.
And they were closed.
Was AC Reynolds? Was it Asheville or somebody
North
like
Buncombe.
that?
I remember that.
North Buncombe.
Yes, and it was all just somebody kept putting in information. There was no game played. So
I can't tell you how often we follow scores on Max Preps, and like you can tell the score is really wrong. It'll be like Team Y 38 and the heavily favored state champion 3. I mean, we see that all the time. But Chris, go ahead.
I like what Dale said, and to his credit, I had never thought of that idea. But that is a great solution to a problem, is to create an app through the state association and have only vetted individuals, whether it's the AD or maybe certain vetted media personnel that is at that game that can update that score, and that's it. Because, the accuracy or inaccuracy is definitely a problem. As of this moment right now, if you log on Max Preps, you'll see that Monroe is listed as beating Lumberton 87-0 on Friday. That game has not even been played. So, the fact that that's allowed to sit on Max Preps as we speak right now is just a travesty.
Well, we have somebody on the screen right now who has a direct line to the boss lady. I'm not going to mention any names, but he's sitting down there being real quiet right now. Mid-season transfers continue. Chris, we had a Southern Durham quarterback, Tyson Broadway, is going to Reidsville. He has offers from Georgia Tech and NCA&T. In Charlotte, I still believe, Gary, they do have the Eric Lyon rule, right, where you can't play for.
I think they still have the Eric Lyon rule. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there was a kid that played advanced high school late 1990s, early 2000s. I don't remember the year. Played while I was coaching. On a Friday night, he scored 3 touchdowns, had over 200 yards of total offense, and we got beat by Olympic. That's when we only got 2 berths in the conference to the playoffs. So we got eliminated from the playoffs, and that Monday morning, he transferred to Independence and was a part of their first run at state championship.
Yeah, and now we're seeing the same thing. This year, KD Cotton transferred from West Charlotte to Weddington. Now we have this kid who's a Division I recruit going to Reidsville, which is already really good. Chris, your thoughts about this? Is it time for the state to step in with some type of rule?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I hate to see this. The purist, the old school guy in me, I certainly hate to see it. There should be some hardship exceptions. If all of a sudden, you're a military personnel and maybe you move into a school or if your parents move like 50 miles away or something to that degree, and you're moving multiple counties, that it's obvious that there's a bona fide move. You know what? I think there could be some wiggle room in that. But if you're moving within the same locale or something like that, there's got to be some absolute vetted, bona fide residential changes that are not just check the box by an administrator. Someone physically goes and double checks, because I think it's getting a little out of control.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only circumstance where I could see that a player played for 2 different schools in the same season would be in a situation like Helene last year, where that whole several LEAs got wiped out for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. And I don't know that all of them even came back to play. But if it's a situation like that where your school is not going to be able to play or finish the season for some reason, and the kid doesn't have anything to do with that school not being able to finish the season, then they should be able to transfer and finish the season. But other than that, just playing for 2 schools in one season, that teaches kids to run and parents to run from adversity.
And the more you see the more you see kids doing it, particularly these high-profile kids, you're gonna see other kids trying the same thing. All right, Chris, let's talk about a little bit about week 5. Was it week 5 last week?
Week 5 last week.
Okay. Then what caught you week 5?
Well, we didn't have a lot of football to begin with. More than half the state was off, but I definitely think that you had some statements being made. Some we'll talk about here. Sam and West Charlotte making that statement. That's a huge victory over Mallard Creek. I think that they kind of made the statement that there's probably 2 major players in the 8A, and they're one of them. There was some other teams that had to have in must-win situations. I think Charlotte Catholic was a must-win, and some of those stepped up, and some of them kind of faded backwards. I look down east. Havelock, they played an excessively aggressive schedule, and they're also playing with a bunch of sophomore and freshmen, and they had to kind of a put up or shut up win against Croatan, and they lost 14-7. Teams like Croatan, they're for real. There's some teams out east, I think, that are for real. There's some teams that are kind of still trying to prove their point, but I think it was kind of a separation Friday.
You see why I need to fire my graphics guy, me, because I put up week 5 and Ashley was in week 5, and Sam in the back says week 6. So yeah, there you go. No, I don't surprise myself sometimes. West Charlotte got
even though we started the show as we're going into week 7.
Yeah, we did. You're right. Yeah. See, I don't know. But speaking of Sam, they've had a lot of close games this year. They come up close, didn't get over the hump. They finally got that signature win on Friday against Mallard Creek. And Gary, I want to hear your thoughts about it, but I want to show you guys how Sam and those guys had fun after the game, and they are obviously fans of the WWE.
Hey, I got one thing to say. I'm proud. What we talking? Hey, call me, man. Hold on this side, baby. Just call him. Hey, Keys. Hey, send me that. Keys. Whole lot of Dub C, baby.
Okay, so my favorite part of that, they call my photographer Unc, and we didn't have to bleep anything out. That was good too.
Yeah. What I want to know is if they lose, are they willing to give that belt up?
No. The cool thing though is the last guy you saw with the belt, No Limit Larry from WPEG, the famous radio guy. He's an East Met graduate, and they've converted him to being the WC guy, which is kind of funny to me. But Gary, before we get your comments, we did hear from the West Charlotte quarterback, Jamori Nichols. Sam's real high on him. He has more than 1,100 yards passing and 13 touchdowns against one of the toughest schedules in North Carolina, maybe top 3 North Carolina schedules. He also has more than 300 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns. So, Gary, before we have you talk about the game, let's hear from Jamori.
Oh, yeah, at the beginning, we hit him with a couple passes, 3 touchdowns back-to-back in the first half. And I got a little banged up, but we came back in the second half. They played the pass very, very well. But after that, we started running the ball, and it started hitting, and it started working.
Obviously, you got a lot of confidence in a lot of receivers, but Rakeem Finch came up huge for you tonight.
Oh, yeah, that been my guy since middle school. I had met him in middle school, so it was my 7th grade year. And he told me, when I come to West Charlotte, because that's my home school, from Ransom to West Charlotte, he was like, you're going to be a starting quarterback one day. He always believed in me, so I always believed in him. And we always kept our connection, and we hit it today, and they seen it.
Now, Gary, you went home because it was drizzling, just that little bit of light drizzle. That sent you home?
No, it was not drizzling. They had a rain delay. It's lightning and thunder. Look, I've been through this for over 25 years, and I know those games can start in 30 minutes or they can start in 2.5 hours.
No, facts, true that.
You never know when they're going to start. Kids can get out there and warm up, and everybody's ready to go, and then lightning comes, and you got to go back in the locker room for 30 minutes. So, yeah. These old bones and that dampness did not want to deal with that weather. So I said my hellos and congratulations. And I caught it on Bayapple Sports.
How big my man Reggie was calling that game. How big a win was this for Sam and West Charlotte? Because they finally got that signature scalp that they needed.
I think it's a big win because now they've proven you know, they won the title last year, but it was 3A. And we always talk about the big boys of 4A. And they whipped up on one of the big boys. Yeah. And what I like for West Charlotte and what they seem to be doing, they're not going to leave it in the hands of a kicker. You know, we always worry about his kicking extra points and field goals. If they play like they did Friday night, they won't need a kicker. You know,
but did you agree with Sam going for 4th and 1 at his 30 game? You know, real early in the game.
Yes,
at his 30.
Yes, I do. Because if you see those big hogs he got up front, and you get Jamari behind him, first of all, let me say this about the quarterback. He may not have all the measurables that you want in a quarterback, but he's got the biggest heart for winning, and he's got the smarts for winning. That kid is a leader, and as long as he stays healthy, they're gonna be in every game. If it's not a blowout, they're gonna be in every game that they play because of that kid right there. He is the real deal.
Okay,
let me say something about that. If you go back and if you look at the game, Langston, and you see what that line was doing, and you could feel that energy of that team, I didn't have any doubt that they would pick it up. I just had a few questions about like a pass, you know, in a slick ball situation, but yeah, I thought that was a great call myself.
All right. Well, speaking of quarterbacks, Dale, do you think Malik Creek has found his quarterback of the future? Kalen Napier, 12 of 21, 191 yards, and a touchdown against one of the best defenses in the area, maybe one of the best defenses in the Southeast.
He played a great game. Is he their guy? Yeah. He looks as good as any as I've seen play at.
I think he's the best looking quarterback since Coach Tinsley has been there.
Wow,
without question.
More too.
Since Coach Tinsley been there, he has been the kid that has looked the best at quarterback, and I know that they've tried to play situational football with their quarterbacks the last few years, and this year. I think they had settled on the quarterback and then injury, so you can't do anything about it. But I think they have landed on their quarterback, and they need to prop him up and do whatever is best for him to succeed because he's got the measurables.
Right.
And it looked like the other night he had the poise. He looked very poised for a sophomore quarterback.
And Sam was still house at him too.
I think they need to ride it out with him and let him take his lumps this year, and he'll definitely be ready to go next year.
All right.
He felt a lot of pressure too, especially from the edge. When I look at that West Charlotte defense, and I asked Sam the other night if he'd teach it to me because I don't know all of their rules, but my gosh.
There's only one guy that I know of he's taught that defense to, and that's Jupiter.
That's what he told us. He said, I've only taught it to one guy.
Yeah, he's selfish like that. He won't share. Well, Charlotte Catholic, as you guys remember, as Chris had pointed out last week, got blown out by Weddington at home 42-7. They had a must-win game at Porter Ridge. They were down 13-7. Porter Ridge missed the extra point in overtime. Chase Cummel, the quarterback, on 4th and 1, scores a touchdown. And then the kicker, you talk about kickers, Aiden Flynn comes up and does this. Now, Dale, you look at that. Look at the smile on your face, Dale. You look at that celebration. Is this the kind of thing that turned Catholic season back around again?
So you got to look at who Catholic lost to, first of all. They lost to two very, very good teams.
Yeah.
And if you look at their schedule remaining, now I'm not going to say it'll necessarily be a cakewalk, but they should be favored in every game.
You said it, but I mean,
right. I mean, they should be favored in every game since. That was one. I like that because winning a game with that kind of, I don't know, the excitement for the team, that kind of situation, overtime. That's the kind of games I like to see. In fact, I told the coaches Friday night that I wanted to see a close game. I didn't want to see a blowout. I always love seeing those kinds of games.
Coaches
That's why I was smiling.
Yeah, coaches don't.
Put it on one kid, give him a chance to kick it. What a play.
Yeah. Another thing we as a group have to get used to is we're so used to looking at standings, who's in first, who's in second, who's in third. And that's not what they're using as a criteria.
Doesn't matter anymore. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, they're looking at strength of schedule and wins. So, we all have to get used to that. But I think it makes it a little bit more interesting because you could have a conference where everybody goes to the playoffs.
Yeah. Chris, you put Catholic back in the polls this week. You thinking they're back?
Well, let's what Dale said. You got to look at who they've played. That South Mecklenburg game week 1 sure does look a whole lot better now with South 5-1. Charlotte Christian, that's a very good win for them. The Providence Day loss is what it is. I was at the Kings Mountain game. Kings Mountain was without their best player. Catholic was without about 6 starters, and that was an ugly game. The Catholic should have won by 2 scores. It ended up being 28-21, but that's still a good win for them. Weddington being what it is. And I think that this game against Porter Ridge is their best win of the season. And that's just in my opinion. Porter Ridge, even in the loss, moved up 1 spot in my rankings. I think 15th in 7A. That's a legitimate defense, a really well-coached team, a lot of talent. I think, what Dale said, moving forward, Catholic will either be favored or right in the thick of things the rest of their year. That Sun Valley game next week will be tough. Sun Valley, they're tough. You see how they played Weddington on Friday night. But I do think Catholic has got things in the right direction.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really big game.
Chris, wasn't it you or in your rankings, or it was you or Langston last week when y'all said, okay, who's in right now and who's on the edge of getting in. I like that. It's kind of like you got what's that guy's name on ESPN that's always doing who's gonna get in and who's not.
Joe Lenardi.
Joe Lenardi. I like how y'all put that in the paper last week. I think everybody's gonna be following it now. We in or we out? We out.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I want to talk about last week, Olympic had a wild game at Central Cabarrus. They're down 13-3 in the 4th quarter, and Chance Cato threw 2 touchdown passes in the 4th quarter. We're gonna have him on the show later on, but you're actually going to see him in this clip too, because we got a little follow up from the coaches and the players of both teams. And after that, we're gonna go to Cam on the street with a Butler Star.
Coming into it, Cabarrus County, we live in Charlotte. It's a different type of play style, different type of culture. But coming into it, I just told my guys, if we locked in, if we do what we're supposed to do, we're going to get a win. Tell my defense, you get us off the field, I promise you we're going to come back with a win. That's what they did. That's what happened. Love my guys, love my coaching, never gave up on each other, and we came through and we got the win. Sir, battled a lot of adversity. It was a point in time where we was dropping our heads. We didn't believe in each other. But it came a point in time where it got late in the game and then something happened and we was like, we can really do this. And I really appreciate our coaches, staying on us in practice, telling us what's right and wrong. Our coaches being on so heavy and so hard. I just love everybody so much. I love our guys, and I'm just happy we got the win.
Man, I think we just started the rivalry right there. Those are 2 really good teams that played to the end of the game. We were able to put it away. But, man, they're well coached, play well, disciplined. They've had to make adjustments because of hurt players. We've made adjustments because of hurt players. So it was really it was stressful, but, that's a game me or none of these guys will ever forget.
I think both teams played hard, and, I don't think it rained hard enough to do anything to affect the game. They completed several passes. We don't throw the ball that much. We're playing with our 3rd-string quarterback. And, to take it to the wire like that's just a shame. You end the game with the ball in your best ball carrier's hands, who never fumbles. And, it just happened, It's just I feel so bad for him because, he's such a tremendous player. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be in this position to begin with. So, just really feel badly for him and for the whole team.
What do you hope the guys can take from this, though?
Well, all we can do is just say, hey, we played with the team that's supposed to win the conference, head and shoulders above everybody, and we played with them and led the whole game. And so, I mean, our guys ought to at least take some confidence in that with them.
All right, well, this is going to be a weird edition of Cam on the Streets. It's actually going to be Cam in the studio. Wasn't able to make it out to a game on Friday, but here with Gabe Wilson from Butler, had a big 23-12 win over Chambers. Played a little bit of offense and defense. That's going to be my first question. Which do you like playing better, offense or defense?
You know, I mean, I've been playing a lot of offense this year, but I don't know. They put me at defense. There's just something I love about when I see the quarterback drop back. He get that little, his eyes widen. He look my way.
Yeah, you like popping somebody. Do you like giving a hit or taking a hit better?
I mean, obviously give it. I hate getting hit, but I don't got no problem with it. I mean, if I get hit, that's a reflection of me getting the ball to be able to get hit. But when it comes to whether I like defense or offense more, I'm more excited to play defense because I just love seeing the ball in the air to go have the opportunity to get an interception or just go stop the offense from being able to get down the field and make a play or make a drive.
I hear that. And so I got to ask you about your younger brother who plays on the team. Who's the better ball player?
Man, I mean, between me and my brother Andrew, I believe that he has a higher potential than me, but I have been putting in yes sir, but I've been putting in more work since as far as I can remember, especially from this season, the beginning of this season last year. I've just been putting in as much work as I can to get better. So I've been doing more with what I can than he has. So from right now, I'm going to say I'm the better ball player.
I got you. And so I want to bring Hales in for this last one. Coach, for Gabe, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever gotten from Coach Hales? And Coach Hales, then I'll let you follow up. Just, what does Gabe embody, the Butler culture, and how does he embody, just a great football player as a leader? Gabe, you go first.
Well, see, I've known Coach Hales for a while because he coached my older brother. So I'd always go to his little camps that he'd have for little players, like the ones that are aspiring to get better. They go to camp over the summer, do what they can. Brian Hale's camp at Mara. So I go to one of those and I just balled out, do what I could. And then at the end, I win my award. He just tells me, keep getting better, do what I can, just keep working hard. And then one day I'll be, because he'd always bring his star players at Butler, and one day I could be one of them. That's what I've been trying to get to.
Awesome. Hales?
I love it. No, and the thing about you, Gabe, that I appreciate so much, and really, everybody's starting to see it now, with you playing some defense as well, is, Cam, you asked about how does he embody a Butler football player. Like, we're almost like positionless, really, a lot of times. Like, we just got a bunch of guys that, number one, love the game of football. And then number two, or it might even be 1A, and I think, Gabe, you'll agree with this, these guys just love playing with each other and love playing for each other. And really starting to see that come through, in the last week or so. And, that was something that happened Friday night. But one thing I do have to ask you, Gabe. So you're wide open. You're 30 yards ahead of everybody. The ball's in the air. What's going through your mind as that ball's coming back?
I mean, I seen the ball in the air, and people can't see it because I got my helmet on, but I was smiling so hard with my mouth guard on. I was so happy to see the ball coming my way. Because we practiced this play before, like during the week, and getting the ball, I knew I was going to be wide open on that play. So when I seen that ball, I was just happy, like so much excitement, feel my heart, feel my whole body. I was just so ready to go get that ball.
What's a tougher catch to make, when you're that wide open, or when it's a contested catch and there's two of you guys and there's four hands going for the ball? What's a tougher one to make?
It's actually being wide open, because being wide open, you like see everything around you. You got a bunch of open space. You're just, it's you versus the ball. But then when the ball's coming, you got contested catch. I'm focused completely on catching the ball. Nothing's gonna stop me from getting that ball, and I just have to get it over whoever I'm going against. But being wide open is me versus the ball, me versus myself.
I hear it. Well, that is Gabe Wilson, the do-it-all unicorn for Coach Hales at Butler High School. This has been a unique edition of Cam in the Studio, or Cam on the Streets. Back to you, Langston.
All right, guys, appreciate that. Cam, we're going to go to Chris and the players of the week. But before we get to that, Dale, I wanted to ask you about your new show on Wednesdays with Jim. Tell us a little bit about Talking Preps OT.
Well, guys, this is something hopefully you'll tune in and join, where we just kind of chat about different things. Hopefully Chris is going to be providing some content this week, and it is live, so you can interact with us, and we look forward to having questions. This past week we had quite a number of questions, so it's just kind of like Jim and I talking like we always do whenever we talk, and we're just kind of sharing it with you.
You guys had a great opening week audience last week. Actually shocked me, your audience last week.
It shocks me too.
We'll be right back after this message with Chris and the players of the week. Every week on Thursday and Saturday morning, get the latest in high school news from around the region in the Charlotte Observer's free newsletter, Talking Preps, the newsletter. Make sure you sign up now. All right, guys, we're back. It's time for the games of the week. We're going to start out with I can't call you that word. I almost said it. Almost said it. We're going to the number one voice of high school football, Chris Hughes, is going to tell you about the top games after this.
All right, these may not be the three biggest games in the state, but they're definitely three that's kind of intrigued me, and just kind of keeping my eyes out for some of the games going on in other parts of North Carolina. I know we kind of promote the Charlotte area pretty big, and it is the center of the football universe in this state. But there are also some big games being played elsewhere. We've got a couple big ones up there in the Triangle, the Research Triangle Park area. Green Hope heading over to Jordan. Jordan, in my opinion, they're definitely a team in that upper echelon of the 8A. I think that, as I kind of look at my tracker right here, Jordan is kind of at that threshold. I got them 7th, and I think that they're definitely a bona fide team. Green Hope's a team that, end of last year, theoretically could have been the bottom of the old 4A and even the 8A, depending on how you look at it. They made a big hire a couple seasons ago, brought in Mitch Johnson, who I think a lot of. He's a young coach, very innovative, does a lot of cool things, kind of runs a little bit of a gun tee or something, a power based spread offense, and has a great quarterback in Nick Goulet. I think it's Goulet. I'm not sure, but whatever the case is, he's putting up some big numbers. Had a 27-0 victory over Apex. Earlier in the year, Langston asked me if I thought Green Hope was back, and it was just too early to tell. They hadn't really played anybody big, and to some degree they still haven't. But I definitely see the Falcons on the right track. They got a big one Friday night. They can play good against Jordan. We'll definitely kind of get a better measuring stick of where they're at. Sticking up there in Wake County, Johnston, Wake County battle. Clayton, we've talked a lot about Clayton. Coach Chadwick, we remember him from his years up here at Myers Park, Marvin Ridge. That's a machine, and they have definitely gotten better in the past few weeks. Kind of sorted some injuries out, got some guys in some good spots. And, this Clayton team, I think, is going to be surging towards the playoffs. But they've got a big battle. E.J. Johnson, Edwin Johnson, coach over there at Southeast Raleigh, he's got a team full of about 7 bona fide Saturday players next year. That's a program that has steadily got better year to year and week to week, even this year. They had that 28-26 loss to Garner a couple weeks ago, but that's a team. Both of those, I think, are going to be playing in the latter rounds of the playoffs, 7A in this instance. So that's a game to keep an eye out for. And then let's move all the way to the other side of the state. My number one team in the 6A is Watauga. They are just they're a dynamic offense. They score in so many different ways. Hard to stop them. They just do a lot of things. They just put a whipping on Asheville Friday night, 49-7. In fact, they're scoring about 49, 50 points a game every week. They're playing Freedom, and you might need a little bit more than 49 or 50 against this Freedom squad. Freedom beat AC Reynolds 70-20. What a score. That's going to be an interesting one, just to keep an eye on the scoreboard. I mean, I don't know, this one has potential. You think when a game could be 60-60, it ends up being 14-8. That's just sometimes.
No, it's not going to be 14-8. All right, Cam, get your vocal cords ready. Tell us about the best games in Charlotte region.
All right, well, we'll start in my backyard in Cabarrus County, Central Cabarrus.
Always Cabarrus County, every week. Always, every week.
You're the one that recommended a Cabarrus County game this week, if you want to be honest. Go ahead. Go back to the text messages. But at any rate, if you talk about Central Cabarrus, we've already kind of talked about them a little bit, played a very close game with Olympic. These are two teams that are both 2-3, had a bit of a bumpy start to the season, but both have kind of gotten their feet under them, or at least gotten back on track. Cox Mill's coming off a win over Harding. So I look for this game to be pretty close. The common opponent is Olympic. Cox Mill felled it in 35-14. So if that's any indication of how this game is going to go, maybe Central's got the bit of the edge. Then South Point and Crest. Then this is a battle of two teams that play completely different styles of football. Crest is very, gunslinging, can really score, put up points in a hurry. South Point's more methodical with that kind of triple option style of offense that they run. 4-1 and 3-1. I look for this to be a good game. Ranked 21st and 32nd in Carolina, respectively. So, I would give the edge to Crest in this one, but that's just my thoughts. Then lastly, Lake Norman and Statesville. I think this is going to be a pretty good game. I know a lot of people think Lake Norman could probably win this game pretty big, but I think Statesville is a little bit better than their strength of schedule suggests. They haven't played that many tough teams in their schedule. West Meck, Hopewell, Alexander Central, West Stokes. But look, they're still 5-0 for a reason. They can put up a lot of points, averaging over 30. Lake Norman's going to have their hands full on the defensive side, but I think if Lake Norman's defense can settle in, fall back to their, having played a lot of tough teams, I think Lake Norman can end Statesville's undefeated run.
I think that's a sneaky good game, that Lake Norman Statesville game. All right, Dale and Hales, I want to ask you about one of the big games here in Charlotte. Palisades playing Audrey Kell, two teams trying to win the conference title. Dale, you go first, and then Hales.
Me first?
You first.
Well, I haven't seen Audrey Kell, so I don't know. I think they've had kind of an up and down with winning a game I didn't think they'd win, and losing a game I didn't think they'd lose. Palisades a really good team.
Palisades this close to being undefeated.
They're two close games. Really, they outplayed Clover in that game, and the Independence game was just so evenly matched overall that as good as Independence is, you can say Palisades is. So I kind of think that this is a game that Palisades will win, just based on what I know and what I've seen the two teams do on the field. So could be a good game, but
I don't know if they've ever beaten Audrey Kell. I think that's kind of the big hump they got to get over. I think that's a game they haven't won yet. Is that correct? I think yeah, I'm pretty sure that's
correct.
Yeah. Hales, give me the coach's perspective on this one. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think this is going to be a great game, especially for Palisades. Like Dale mentioned, they had the close game with Independence and the Clover game, and, they're really trying. And I know Coach Simmons, really felt like he had a great team coming into this season. So, I see them really like putting, I know they're always going to put a lot into each game, but I really see this game being a point of emphasis for them, to kind of start, especially now that we're in conference play. And I know the conference champion finish doesn't matter, but it does, to be a
trophy.
So, I think you're going to see, the very best of Palisades here, and, Audrey Kell, playing at home and things like that. But, I think we're going to see a big statement out of Palisades this week.
All right, Gary, I want to take you over to Providence and East Meck. East Meck is 3-3. We haven't seen them be 500 or better this late in the season. Providence, but these two teams are tied for first place in the conference. That same conference we just talked about. How big a game is this?
It's big because East Meck is starting to believe their program is starting to make a turnaround. And Providence, the same thing. They're both coming in with momentum. That's the biggest thing. They're both coming off big wins. They both feel good about themselves, and it's a chance to take the lead in the conference. So, and once again, we're talking about playoffs here. So, more than a conference championship, it's about getting in the playoffs. And so you have to start stacking wins. But not only do you have to start stacking wins, they have to be against opponents who are also have playoff potential, because schedule matters. So this is a big game, and the winner is going to have a foot up on the loser.
Sam, you saw Providence play earlier this year. You beat them. What do you think about the Panthers?
I think they're going to get better and better each game with that new quarterback. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the city. I think this is going to be a tough game for East Meck. I think they've won some big games and they've surprised some people with some of the wins they had. I think they had to win over, was it Hopewell? That was a big win. And when they had a real tight game, they had a real tight game with Garinger, and then they came over and they won some games that were surprise to some people. But I think this is a little bit too much for them. I think Providence is a really good football team. I think they'll compete for the conference championship in their conference. I think it'll be between Providence and Palisades, to be honest with you.
All right. Well, Chris, tell me, we talked a lot about Olympic early in the show. They're playing A.L. Brown, coming off an emotional win. Can they get it back ready to play an A.L. Brown team? What do you see about in this game?
Well, I really like this Olympic team. Really, since the beginning of the year, when I had a chance to sit down and talk to Coach Thompson, and watched them against Butler in that first Saturday game against at Memorial Stadium, and to do so without Chance Cato. And we finally had a chance to talk to him. He's back. He is only going to get better. I do think that this Olympic team is starting to find themselves and get a great identity at the right time of year. On the flip side, I want to go and check out Kannapolis. They're playing against Berry, so I'm going to go kind of get an idea of what they've got going on. I've seen them in practice a few times. They're a much better team than they've been, and I think the results are starting to show it. They got the 2 losses. They lost to Mooresville, but a lot of teams go lose to Mooresville. They lost that tight one to Porter Ridge. That if you went back and looked at the gameplay, it was about a draw on the field. A couple of turnovers kind of turned it into a 10-point swing. I do think Brown's a pretty decent team. Them going against Olympic, I think it's really a clash of 2 different styles. I think Brown's a little bit more finesse. They like to get out in some space and do some things. They got a young, unproven sophomore quarterback that he's talented. He kind of dances around back there. But Olympic's a big physical team, and they're going to bruise you and move you from point A to point B. So it's a really contrast to styles. But I think it's a good game. I'm not sure if I'll go see it Friday or not, but I definitely think it's one worth checking out.
All right, Cam, piggyback for me.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good matchup. I would tend to give the nod to Olympic, but one thing I'd caution Olympic. I picked them preseason to win that conference, but you can't overlook teams. I think they should win the conference pretty handedly, but when you play a team like Central Cabarrus, who at least for the last several years has been a very middling team in Cabarrus County, and you play them down the whole game, and then you only manage to win late. I think that shows you can't overlook teams, or anybody can beat you on any given Friday. But yeah, I like Olympic here.
All right. Hales, I want to go a little bit outside of Mecklenburg County. Weddington, Marvin Ridge, this is a big-time Union County rivalry. Marvin Ridge has lost 2 close games to RGK and Ashbrook. Are they ready to knock down the Union County heavyweight champion?
Man, I don't know. And the problem that I think they're going to run into is it's not just Weddington and the talent, on the sidelines and on the field that they have, but it's a Weddington team that took a loss recently. And when you have a great team like that loses the game that they, I'm sure they fully expected to win, has a tendency to really kind of refocus them and bring the best out in them. So, I think that's going to be a real tough task for Marvin Ridge. But, like you said, this is a rivalry game. And anytime you get in these rivalry games, man, wild stuff happens. But no, I'm not sure, man. I think Weddington might be a little bit too much.
Dale, can Marvin Ridge get him in the late rounds, get him on a decision? What do you think?
No, I'm sorry.
You guys are scared of Andy Capone. All of y'all are scared of Andy.
No, I'm not scared of Andy
That's
Capone.
Sam Griner. Sam Griner.
I've had the chance to go to this game, I think 3 times. It's a big rival game.
Huge
There's
crowd.
no question.
Yeah, huge crowd.
Big crowd, big rivalry. But I think they need more than big crowds and big rivalry to be able to go up against a Weddington and beat Weddington right now. I just don't see it being a competitive game. Prove me wrong.
Not even competitive. That might be on Gary. That might be on a few.
That sounds like Alex saying home field doesn't matter.
Yeah, but that little clip might be on some social media things this week. Not a chance.
Play it when they review film or whatever. They can play it tomorrow's film day, so they can play it. They won't see it then, will they?
No, they'll put it up somewhere along the line. Chris,
coaches will have another film
before we have Sam talk about his best buddy DJ. Tell me about the game of the week, West Charlotte Independence. We're finally getting this game at West Charlotte after a lot of hullabaloo a couple years ago.
It's going to be a great game.
He didn't even take the bait, Sam. He didn't even take the bait.
Myself over there because I think it's just going to be a great game. Two great teams. You look at both of these coaches. I want to give kudos to Coach McFadden and to Sam for getting ultra aggressive and who they scheduled non-conference. They've done everything they can to prepare their teams. I think the real winner is going to be the fans, and because they're going to have a great game to watch.
All right, Sam. Tell us, what's the key to?
And you notice I didn't give either one of them.
No, you were right down the middle. What's the key to beating Independence?
The physicality aspect. I think they're going to be ready. They've had 2 weeks to prepare. I saw a lot of their coaches at our last game. They have very explosive players. If we limit their explosives, then it'll be a long night for them. But if they have explosive plays, then it could be a long night for us. Like we said, we've been promoting this game for over 2 years now, and I'm a little disappointed. I'll do that in my last statement at the end, what I want to talk about. But, I wanted to play this game on a bigger stage. I wanted to be able to have fans and stuff, but I'll talk about that in a little while.
Okay.
They're a really good football team. DJ McFadden is one of the best scripters there is. Now he's got 2 weeks to do a script. It might have go from 10 plays to 30 plays. And so we got to be prepared for this super script that he always does. And but we'll see what we can do. I like our team a lot, and I think we can do the best we can. And I'm looking forward to the game, playing at our place, smelling the fish, the whole deal. Let's get it going.
All right.
Let me
Coach Hales to your comment in chat.
Yeah. let me quote the great narrator, Mike Tyson. Everybody got a plan until they get hit in the mouth. And West Charlotte's going to hit Independence in the mouth so hard.
Y'all give
they
a DJ
have the
so much.
size
Y'all
or
give
the
a DJ
physicality to play West Charlotte. Sam is being as humble as I've ever heard him. This game will not be close.
Ooh.
Oh my God!
We have
to get them all riled up.
We have an independence expert on the
show. Don't do nothing crazy.
We have an independence expert on
the war this week.
The thing is that neither Sam or DJ is going to admit is they are so similar to each other. Just the way their teams play, the way they prepare their teams, like the confidence they have. Like these guys are carbon copies of each other. Just neither one of them will admit it. But I think that's what's going to make it so fun Friday night. And not just Friday night, the lead up to it as well. I think both teams play with a chip on their shoulder and very much reflect their coaches. And that's what's going to be really cool about it, I think.
Yeah. He's a bigger get off the lawn guy than me. He's a bigger get off my lawn guy than me.
Yeah, if the coaches had to play the game, then DJ has a shot. But Sam and DJ not going to be on the field. And the athletes are going to be on the ones on the field. And they just don't match up with West Charlotte. They didn't match up with Huff. And West Charlotte and Huff, are almost carbon copies of each other as far as size and physicality. In fact, I think West Charlotte is faster than Huff. So, Independence, they had their chance against Huff, and it wasn't close. It was over at halftime. And I'm not saying this game will be over at halftime, but I just can't see them matching up with West Charlotte. West Charlotte's too big, too strong, and too fast for Independence.
Oh boy, that's
I think I heard running clock out of you, Gary.
I don't know if Sam appreciates all that or not. I'm not really sure.
Hey, DJ,
I know DJ is going to be all over this week.
Oh,
yeah, he did say no matter what, we're going to play the game, and I agree with him. I talked to him on the phone the other day, and this game's going to be played. I'm excited about it, really am.
Awesome.
Sam, you don't mind me putting that target on you, do you?
At the end of the day, they still got to play us. Let's go.
All right, it's now time for my favorite part of the show. After the break, we're going to do coach versus coach, and I'm going to actually add a question that Chris doesn't even know about. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, I'm Scott Fowler, sports columnist at the Charlotte Observer. I have been here 31 years, but you know what I never have had before here? A newsletter. I've got one now. It's free. I'd love you to sign up for it and get my take. Every single time I have a column, you'll see it first. Panthers, Hornets, college sports, high school sports, whatever controversies going on. Sign up for my free newsletter, and you will be able to get my column every single time earlier than anyone else.
Yeah.
All right, guys, week 7, we're going to do our favorite part of the show, coach versus coach. So you know what we're going to do, Langston. Let's lock them doors.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdown.
All right, guys, my favorite part of the show. Nowhere else will you get this kind of a panel with these former coaches to give their insight into what's going on around the state and in different topics and so on and so forth. So without any further ado, Langston, let's go ahead and throw the first question up there. A Michigan junior varsity football player recently caused spinal injuries to an opposing player by splashing onto him after a play. The school said it's disciplining the player, but hasn't said what is going to happen. Coaches, how would you handle this? Gary, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I read it. I saw this earlier in the week. And the kid that did the splashing, he's 14 years old. Okay. He's a big 14 years old. He's 350, but he's still 14 years old. And I think you have to take that in consideration. I would definitely suspend him, but I wouldn't kick him off the team because you could lose him permanently mentally for that. He still needs to be around the team. He has to learn a lesson. It would definitely be some conditioning involved in his suspension because Lord knows he needs it if he's 350 at 14 years old. But I wouldn't kick him off the team, but I would definitely suspend him. I don't know for how many games, but there has to be a punishment. But I wouldn't publicize the punishment. It's no different than treating a juvenile when they get in trouble at school, or you don't publicize it at school and you don't publicize it in society, what happens to a juvenile. So I don't think you should publicize what happens to him as an athlete. Just if anybody needs to know, the principal and the AD and the coach need to confirm that punishment was handed out, but the public doesn't need to know what it is.
Coach Hales, how would you handle this?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Gary on this. Like, it's none of our business how that school's going to handle it with that player because we don't know that kid. We don't know the situation. We may not know background story and things like that. No matter what the school's going to say, half the people are going to be in favor of what they. And everything's not for everybody. We all have an opinion on what happened. We all have a way that we'd handle it. But again, without knowing the situation, without knowing the kid, it's tough to say. Like, there's no cookie cutter, consequences for everybody, and that was one of the things I learned a long time ago that, you treat all these kids fairly. You just don't treat them the same because
I agree with them both, what they're saying. We don't know the context of the situation. I mean, a pancake block is something that we're trying to do as an offensive lineman, not necessarily splash them, but we're trying to drive somebody and finish them off. That is some of the biggest rewards you can get as an offensive lineman, to try to do those things. And so we don't know if he's been like, man, you got to finish guys off. Maybe he had a past of not finishing people off, and he's like, I finally got one and overdid it this time, and he probably feels bad about it too. I don't think he's trying to inflict harm on a spinal injury on the kid, so we got to understand in the context. Now, is he going to be upset? I want to know how he handled it afterwards. Is he upset about things like that? There's a lot more that we don't know about it. So it's hard to say how to really handle the situation.
Yeah, I agree totally with you guys. Again, not all punishment should be public knowledge. Coach Hales, you kind of got a little fuzzy there. We're going to bring it here to you if you can hear us. The NCHSA continues to see upticks in unsportsmanlike actions in the field, in the stands, including a brief incident in the stands on Friday, the Mallard Creek game. What's the best way to turn this around, Coach Hales?
I don't know what the best. We're definitely heading down a path that we don't want to go down. Years and years ago, I was coaching, college football up in Pennsylvania, and we recruited Pittsburgh, and there's, pockets of Pittsburgh where they play games Friday with no fans allowed. And unfortunately, we may be heading in that direction with some of these situations because people just can't control themselves. People don't understand what they're there for. And there's too many people thinking that they're part of the show. And really it's about these kids and the school communities and things like that. And you even hate to think that, well, it's, and you brought up the fact that an incident that may have had nothing to do with any kid from Mallard, any kid from West Charlotte. It may have just been somebody else that wanted to be out at the game and is just a bad actor who wants to create bad stuff. And, unfortunately, there may be some games played without fans in the stands.
Yeah, we definitely don't want that to happen. That's because that's the moneymaker for all our programs, not just the football team, but all walks of life in sports and some parts of the school. So we definitely want fans in the stands. But I think that what we can do now, here's the thing: the unsportsmanlike actions. This is exactly what I would do, and I've said this for years. That I think that if you're hearing cursing or going back and forth, you give them a 15-yard penalty. A 15-yard penalty. If you get 2 of those, you have been disqualified from the game. I've seen too many incidences where you hear a curse word and someone's ejected, and instantly a coach gets more upset about the situation instead of making the corrections with the players. So if you give a kid a 15-yard penalty, I'm going to correct that kid because that can sustain a drive or hurt a drive significantly, and we can correct it and make those adjustments that they can do it. If they do it again, now they're disqualified. I think that does more than ejecting a kid. So I don't know. Some of these things are skewed, but I think we can make that change. You cannot do the same penalty for cursing as you do as fighting on the field. If someone throws a punch and tries to fight on the field, it's the same ruling as a curse word right now. That is ridiculous. I think we need to be able to handle things better with 15-yard penalties. That's something you could do there. In the stands, the one suggestion I would have is if there is a student, when you check in or somehow way you check in, we give better rates for the students that are in schools. If you're a CMS student, you get in the game for $5, but you also got to give your ID. It checks in the kid when they're in at the game, and they're responsible. Or maybe we get a better deal somehow, but we know that their acknowledgement at the game, and if they get in trouble, they can get suspended like they're still at school or remove them from any games for the rest of the year. Then you're going to have a lot more better behavior, I think. Maybe we could do something of that nature.
Well, I think that if it's adults involved in it, well, even kids, arrest them. Just arrest them. When I had a principal and he went on to become the associate superintendent when I was at Providence, named Greg Clemmer. And anytime there was a fight at Providence when I was there, he had both students arrested. And the parents had to go downtown and they had to pay the magistrate some money to get them out. And that stopped that fight and quit. I think we went a couple of years with no fights the whole school year because they knew he wasn't bluffing. I mean, he would stop class, come on the intercom and say, "We lost one today. If you're at the front of the building, look out the window." And you would see the kid being put in the police car. And that stopped that fight. It stopped it. And so I would do the same thing at a game. If somebody's getting in a fight or causing a public affray, just arrest them. That'll put us, if they know the consequence ahead of time, usually that's enough to get people to stay out of trouble. And when they have to pay that fine to get out of jail for public disturbance, they won't do it again. And once they get arrested, they can't go to any more games.
I like that last part too, but whether you get arrested or you get removed from a game, yeah, like you forfeit your opportunity. You've shown you can't handle being in that situation. I absolutely agree with that. Don't let them come back.
I agree. I like it, guys. Hey, Sam, I'll give this one here to you. When weather postpones a high school football game, what's the best day to make it up and why? Saturday or Monday?
I'm going to have to say Monday, and I'm going to go against the grain because, we're already at issues where we have this going on. Okay. And now you're going to ask coaches to maybe they have young children. They're going to have to find babysitters to be able to pay for. Everybody can normally go to a game and watch it on a Saturday, but the problem is the coaching staff, sometimes they have plans. They got to see their families. They barely see them at all as well, and they're the ones that kind of have to get the games going. Does it help you if you do it on a Saturday to help prepare for the next week for the following game? Yes, but I'm a Monday kind of guy. I'm going to say Monday is going to be the best day because it's a working day, and you're already planning to working that day instead of doing more overtime than what we already do.
Gary?
I think for the administration, Monday is the best day because you have to you get to have some time. If a game gets postponed, you got to find people to work concessions. You got to find people to work the gate. You even have to find officials. And that's hard to do in a 12-hour turnaround if the game is postponed at 8:30 because of storms and you want to come back on Saturday. Well, can you find officials? Can you find security to work the game? Can you find people to open concessions? So I think it's better financially on Monday, but I think it's more convenient from a strategic point of view on Saturday because you've already got the game plan in. You know what you want to do, and you turn around Saturday, you just do what you were going to do Friday night. But the problem is the logistics of finding people to work the game on a Saturday. So for players, I think Saturday is the best. But for the administration and game operations, Monday's the best.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a vacuum, to me, Saturday is the best day. And the reason I say that is because I think it's really, really hard physically for these kids to play a game on a Monday. Now you've got to come back in on Tuesday. You're already bumped up. You're banged up a little bit. And you're trying to prepare for a game, like 96 more hours or 72 hours, whatever the case may be. Now, the things that you guys are talking about, though, the logistics matter, having enough security there, being able to get people there and doing all that stuff. Monday, I think it's probably the easiest to pull off, but I would much prefer, to play that game on a Saturday because it gives you those extra 2 days to rest. It gives the kids extra 2 days to rest, but also gives us time to game plan because just because our game may have been postponed doesn't mean our opponent's game was postponed. So now you're at a competitive disadvantage where they've had, 2 more days to prepare and really 3 more days because I don't know how much you're getting out of the kids in preparation when you come back the day after a game and you're practicing on Tuesday now.
Yeah, I agree. Going back to my coaching career, we never fared well on Saturdays for whatever reason. You don't know if your kids are eating or whatever. You just don't have the kids during the day like you would. But great answers by all of y'all. Langston said he was going to throw in a bonus question, so let's see it. Does the Shrine Bowl still matter? Gary, I'm going to let you start.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. Well, anytime you're donating money to a worthy cause, that matters. So I won't say a complete no. But as far as the football game itself, I'm going to say no. It's just too many all-star games. It's most kids have already committed somewhere else. The college coaches don't show up to practice like they used to, and that was a big incentive of getting selected for the Shrine Bowl. A lot of the best players are playing in national all-star games, or they're getting ready to go play in January or enroll in January in college because a lot of kids enroll early now. So it doesn't matter because of the competition of all-star games in the area and around the country. and because it really doesn't help kids get recruited the way it used to.
Hells.
Yeah, no, the recruiting thing was one of the points I was going to bring up too. Years ago during the Shrine Bowl, there was a kid from South Meck named Spencer Shuey. And, I think some of you guys may remember Spencer and I had a great career at Clemson, but for the Shrine Bowl happening and being seen at the practices for that, he wouldn't have been at Clemson. And this was Coach Shaughnessy, our guy, Coach Shaughnessy, coached in it. And, the relationships he had with those guys, Danny Pearman, that out of Clemson really helped him out. With that being said, I think it's both a yes and a no. It matters because it gives a kid an opportunity to play in an all-star game. And anytime you get a chance to do that, play with some kids that you played against for a long time, and just to be able to be in that environment, that's cool. Is the Shrine Bowl a big deal? No, it's not a big deal. And someone said earlier, I don't even think a lot of kids even know about it anymore. It just falls into that. It's another game. So, I think it matters if you get a chance to play in it, but I don't think it's that big of a deal anymore. I think it's just another all-star game.
I just think that they need to take it still matters, but it could flicker away completely if they don't take advantage of the times. They got to understand the social media era. They have to be able to promote it better. They still have to show all the great things Shrine Bowl represents. My grandfather used to do the commercials for the Shriners and all the stuff that they do helping out with burnt victims and a lot of other situations. And I think they stand for such great things. You got to do a good job of promoting and using these student athletes and promoting it. Let's do some videos. There's so many hype videos around for each game. We got a guy that follows us around with Elite Platform. There's all these other schools that have certain things. We got to do a better job of promoting, and kids love gear. You give them out gear, and then now these big time players will be wearing their Shrine Bowl shirts and stuff still in college, still wearing certain things, but do a better job. That's the one thing that the All-American games do on the biggest stage nationally. They get like $300-$400 worth of gear, and they literally keep that for their whole career. I mean, and it's promoting the game itself. We just got to do a better job of promoting it. I still think it matters, but we don't want it to flicker out.
Yeah, and I think too, just to add on to what you're saying, Sam, I don't think it's kept up with the times. I think it's always, and I could be wrong about this, but it kind of feels to me like, the powers that be just said, hey, we're the Shrine Bowl. We don't have to change. We're still a big deal, but you have to change. You have to evolve or die, and that's the thing I don't see. I don't see a lot of social media presence with it and things like that. And, you have to. It's 2025. If you're still doing the same things you were doing in 2005, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah. You can't be taking the kids to shrine clubs for fried chicken after a practice and things like that. I feel like that's one of the places they've lost some of the players in recent years.
Chris, I thought you were going to go off. I didn't know.
No. I'm just saying. I went off enough. I love the Shrine Bowl. Worked with it a long time. Love all the men and women involved in it. They do a great job. But like you guys, I fear that it's slipping away. And I just want to see them get back on track. And does it matter to me? Yes, because it's North Carolina versus South Carolina. As a North Carolina guy, I want to whip their butt.
Three things to make the Shrine Bowl better. One, move it back to Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
2, promote it like Sam was talking about. 3, do something to convince the state's best players to play in it.
Well, Langston, the move it back to Charlotte may be less important if they would market the game. And by marketing the game
Raleigh,
means
Spartanburg is like Egypt.
Let me finish. Market the game means get a sponsor, a big time sponsor who will put money in, get money to the kids.
Yeah.
Because really, Chris made a comment.
Wait, did you say pay
the game itself doesn't make a dime?
Okay.
And it doesn't. When you go to the game and you see the amount of people that are there, that's not enough to keep that hospital going. There's other money that comes in.
I'm sorry, Dale.
Would it matter more to people in Raleigh? Yeah. If the game were marketed the way that it can be marketed, sure it would. People would go.
Yeah. The problem
it's not marketed.
Charlotte is the week that they usually have it. Now Charlotte has the ACC championship.
That's true.
And it's going to get overrun by the marketing for trying to get people to come to the ACC championship, because I think it's played on the same Saturday.
All right. Well, look, that's an interesting discussion. We'll have to pick it up later on. The star of the show told me he's got to go, so I got to put him in his one shot so he can get his final thoughts off. Big man,
just want to highlight the game that I thought Coach DJ McFadden and myself have been promoting for a couple years now with the different discussions. Get your tickets early. I'm scared that with us having it at home, which I'm excited about, I think they're going to limit the tickets, and that's sad. Don't know where that's coming from, but that's what maybe has been told to me, that normally we could bring in close to 4,000, but I don't know if we're going to be able to do that this game. We've tried to promote it to maybe go to a different venue, but somehow that might look like it fell through. Not sure. These are outside of my pay grade situations. So just want to give a shout out. Make sure you have your tickets by the end of the show. If you want to come to the game, make sure you get it because there might be limited.
Yeah, Corvian played Lake Norman Charter, Lincoln Charter at UNC Charlotte last week. I would think that maybe we could get Independence and West Charlotte out there and get 10,000 people there. I mean,
I've already tried to put in the works, but other people got.
Well, I mean, for future games, when you think about it, certainly if you guys end up playing that team from up north later on, you guys need to move it. I know you talked about it might be in Bank of America, but just something to think about ahead of time. Anyway, I know you got to go.
It normally
I'm trying to let you go, Sam. You talking?
I'm sorry. It normally takes about $30,000 to play at a UNCC.
Yeah.
So you got to take a risk as your athletic department. So you'd have to sell about 10,000 to make 80,000 to be able to pay for everything, which can do easily, I think. But you got to be able to take those risks.
I think Independence West Charlotte this week would do 7-8 easy. I don't think that's. I don't think that's.
CLMF thinks of district stadiums that seat about 10,000-12,000.
Yeah, well, it's in the plans. Charlotte has a district stadium in the plans. All right. Well,
get the coaches paid first.
Yeah. Well, the district stuff is already paid for. So, but I hear you. All right. That's Sam Griner, the 2-time state championship coach of West Charlotte. That's Brian Hales, the 3-time state championship coach from Butler. That is Dale Ross, the historian. That's Gary Richmond, the retired CMS teacher. And that is the #1 voice of high school football, Chris Hughes. I'm Langston. We'll see you next week. And we are Talking Preps.
Peace.